Anyone who went to secondary school in Nigeria is familiar with scary stories that stand the test of time. From the infamous Madame Koi Koi in her killer red heels, to the bush babies who mimic the sounds of real babies crying all night long, waiting for the unfortunate, empathetic girl that dares to go pick them up, only to find the things crying aren't actually human. I remember one story in particular of a JS2 girl who went to go fetch water in the middle of the night. Now, fetching water in the middle of the night is not out of the ordinary. Anybody who went to secondary school in Nigeria knows that in the morning, the battle for water was real, with girls trying to fetch for themselves and also for the senior girls who had sent them. Girls who were trying to outsmart the system woke up in the middle of the night to go and fetch their water, sometimes having their baths right there at the taps, or taking their precious water up to store in their dormitory under their bunk beds for their morning bath. And so this is what this JS2 girl usually did. But on this occasion, as she was coming back carrying her bucket water, she encounters a black cat who sort of blocks her way. Like any Nigerian, she rebukes the cat by screaming, "Blood of Jesus," and pours water on the cat. Like any ordinary cat, the cat gives out an angry meow and runs away. The next day, over breakfast, she recounts her tale to her friends about how the cat stared menacingly at her, and all of them let out different versions of shock and horror. As she was leaving the dining hall, one of the kitchen women grabbed onto her, pulled her close, and whispered into her ear, "Why did you pour water on me last night?" I know, it's a story I've never been able to forget. The dictionary describes the word transformation as a marked change in form, nature, or appearance. The story I've just told you implies that the kitchen woman transforms her appearance into a black cat every night. But another kind of transformation happened to all of us who heard that story. Speaking for myself, almost 20 years later, now a grown adult, I still do not fully trust cats. A small part of me wondering if they could be human. A singular story I heard in secondary school transformed my perception of an animal. Do you know what that is? The power of storytelling. When I was a little girl, my father nicknamed me OTB. It stands for Only the Best. It applied to anything and everything. When he would pay my school fees, he would say, "Only the best." When I dressed up to leave the house every day, he would say, "OTB, OTB," over and over again. And so through my life, any time I encountered less than, from a job, from a man, from a friend, I would instantly reject it because my internal narrative directly opposed mediocrity, because I sincerely believe and still believe that I deserve only the best. The stories we hear have the power to transform our thinking and dictate how we show up in the world. So, what stories have we heard that consciously or subconsciously shape us? A few years ago, I wrote the remake of the late, great Amaka Igwe's classic, Rattlesnake, the Ahana story. During a script review with the director of the film, he complained that I had used too many swear words in the script. The premise of the film, for those who don't know, is about a gang of armed robbers. And so I shrugged, saying, "Isn't that how armed robbers speak?" And he said, "No." And he and the producers began to talk about what was more realistic for a Nigerian armed robber to say. It was a hilarious conversation, but it struck a chord within me that changed me fundamentally. Because I realized in that moment, my only reference for heist films had been Hollywood. Get the F down! The armed men and women in their baklavas would scream, pointing their weapons at scared bank tellers and customers. Move and I'll blow your effing head off. The American stories I watched my whole life had impacted me so much, it changed the way I wrote as a Nigerian, thus making me create inauthentic dialogue without even realizing I was doing it. The stories we hear and see create us. They tell us who we are, they give us our identity. Ben Okri once said, "To poison a nation, poison its stories. A demoralized nation tells itself demoralized stories. Beware of the storytellers who are not fully conscious of the importance of their gifts and who are irresponsible in the application of their art." Nigeria has some of the most smartest, some of the most talented, creative people in the world. Yet the stories you hear about us globally are often less than positive. Why is that? The West have perfected the art of storytelling dating back centuries. We know more about the FBI, the CIA, the DA's office, and all these other American institutions because of the stories Hollywood tells about its country. Telling a better story about Nigeria is fundamental, not just so that the world can see us for all that we are, but so that we can see ourselves for all that we are and all that we can become. I once watched a video by a great creator called Salem King, who says, "Any job you have as a Nigerian is a side hustle. Being a Nigerian is a full-time job in itself." While I wholeheartedly agree with Salem, I also believe that as a Nigerian, you must reframe the narrative that you tell yourself. Because if you do not, this country has the ability to swallow you and consume you whole. As a screenwriter, there are questions you must ask yourself before you begin writing. You must ask yourself what your protagonist wants and needs. You must ask yourself what obstacles are preventing the protagonist from achieving those wants and needs. And then finally, you must ask yourself how they're going to get them, how they overcome those obstacles. As human beings, we are all protagonists in this movie called life. Sometimes in Nigeria, you can say we're living in an action thriller, although more recently, it's kind of been feeling like science fiction. Whatever the genre, you are the story's hero. And so what outcome do you hope for? In the best movies, the protagonist is never just winning and happy throughout the film. He goes through, or she goes through challenges, hurdles, unexpected twists and turns to finally get over and achieve what they're looking for. The character must go through a change throughout the film, which we call an arc. So what kind of arc through your life are you looking to achieve? In the best movies, the characters have all come out transformed or changed in one way or the other, and you as a viewer relate to them because you hope that in your life, your arc is also different. Your arc is also changed and leaves you transformed. So how can you transform your life? Through storytelling, by applying the storytelling techniques in your everyday life. First, you must understand that you are the hero of your story. Secondly, ask yourself what you need out of life. Most of us know what we want, but if you know what you need, This will bring you true contentment. Learn to embrace conflict. No good stories happen without them. Practice creativity. The solutions you are looking for are hidden along the creative path. Never give up. It will be hard, harder than you think, but you are also stronger than you think. Stay present. Your story is happening right now. Every hero has supporting characters helping them along the way. Find your tribe. No one lives forever, but your legacy can impact generations. In life, you will encounter plot twists. How you engage with them will determine your outcome. And finally, like I said, you are the hero's story, but God is the director. And so I will end this talk the way they ended old school Nollywood movies and simply say, to God be the glory.